Set. 4, 3, 1.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 3 of the Sunday Morning Quarterback. We are a podcast of 3 pastors who love ministry, leadership, and sports. It is great to be with you. Gang, how you doing? Coming from Richmond, Virginia, pastor of North Run Baptist Church, Dr. Adam Denny. Adam, you doing all right today?
Excited to be here. Fun topics ahead.
Been a tough day for a Braves fan, but we'll throw it down to the Music City, Charlotte Road, sitting in his sanctuary, Pastor Joe Frajowski. What's going on, Dad?
What's going on? Excited to talk about some Dallas Cowboys today.
Oh, goodness. Adam, Dad, is still whimpering from the Braves. So apparently took a beating this weekend. What happened, Adam?
5-game series against our division rivals that we're chasing. They dropped 4 of them. Weird games, the way they happened. And then to top it all off, a drunken Braves fan got punched in his face by 2 Mets fans. And by all accounts, it looked like they knocked him out. So I kind of feel like I'm him in a way.
Braves came back down to reality. Well, guys, episode 3, we have a really exciting episode today. Just want to give you a few details. So starting in September, due to popular demand and high requests, we, gentlemen, are going to be recording an episode and dropping it every Tuesday, just so you can get our thoughts on the football season and what all's going on. So we're going to be doing that starting September. We'll be dropping an episode every Tuesday. And then this is a special episode because the first half we're going to talk about sports, but in the second half we are going to bring on our first ever guest to the show, a near and dear friend to us all, Pastor Paul Laso. He is one of the campus pastors at Brainerd, North Georgia here in Chattanooga. So Paul is going to be jumping on with us here in a little bit, and I know we'll have a good time with him. All right, gentlemen, let's jump into our sports topics. Adam, I'm going to come to you first. NFL camp has started. The season is here. So here's our first question of the day. Adam, which NFL teams are true Super Bowl contenders? What do you think?
True Super Bowl contenders, meaning these are people I can visualize today winning the Super Bowl.
Yes.
My favorite is the same team that I picked to win last year, which is the Buffalo Bills. I think most of us remember, that it was an incredible game. And then the way it ended with the coin flip with Kansas City, and the rest is history. But I think they're going to come back extra motivated because of that. They're going to gain a home field advantage throughout. And that crowd's going to be raucous up in Buffalo as usual. I've got them. I think they're gonna make hay this year. I've got the Chiefs. Always when you got the golden boy throwing the football, I'm not going to count them out. And here's my surprise. Last episode, I mentioned what quarterback is under a lot of pressure. Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos lost a ton of really tight games last year, even though I don't even remember who their quarterback was last year, but, they've got a roster and now they've got a true bona fide quarterback. And so I'm going to count them as one of my contenders. In the NFC, I've got the GOAT, Brady. I'm always going to throw him in there. No explanation needed. And then I think the Rams will probably come back strong. Their division has weakened, and I could see them getting back as well.
That's interesting because last year the NFC was so top heavy, and then this year it just looks a lot different. Those are good takes. Dad, what are your thoughts? Super Bowl contenders, who's there? Who's on that bubble?
I see the Buffalo Bills, of course. I think they're everybody's pick, and they should be. I think they have reloaded again. They've gotten some good players, and I think they're going to be the number 1 contender in the AFC. Also, I think the Chargers are going to make some noise, and that again, that's not a surprising pick, but I think that they're going to make some noise. They've beefed up even more. I think the head coach has learned. I think Kansas City will be in the mix, and I think the Raiders are going to be there as well. So I think that's going to be hot and heavy. It's going to be fun to watch the AFC playoffs. In the NFC, I think we're going to have the same championship game as we had last year. I think it's going to be the Rams and, of course, Tampa Bay. And I do think, and we'll talk about this later, that the Cowboys will be nipping at their heels. but they could surprise some people.
Yep.
Not me, of course, but in reality, I believe it's going to be the Rams in Tampa Bay again.
Gentlemen, I can't disagree with you there. I think it'll be interesting to see the bubble teams. We all know Kansas City, Buffalo, Rams. I agree, Denver. That's the real question. How good is Denver? And honestly, who do y'all think wins that division, that AFC West division? Adam, who do you think comes out of there?
I think that division's a toss-up. I think, Joe mentioned that he could see the Raiders going to the Super Bowl. I could see the Raiders in fourth place in that division, but I also could see them potentially going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's too early to make any predictions because we hadn't seen a game yet. But yeah, that's a heated division, maybe more than I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, I hear it, and Dad, you're going to laugh at me when I do this because we can't talk about this team without doing it, but sounds like we got a little bit of love for your Raiders. Sorry, I had to do that. My Swami came out. All right, so that's our NFL takes. Now, let's get to the real question that everybody's wondering. And, Dad, I'm going to start with you so you can start us off with a clear-headed, wise answer. What will the record be for the Dallas Cowboys this year in the 2022 season?
Easy. 12-5.
Whoa!
12 wins. 12 wins.
Yeah.
Maybe 13 wins. Now I'm just stating it for the record. We're going to start off a little slow. However, I can see us winning this first game in Tampa Bay. We did not play well toward the end of the year, but we had an injured Dak Prescott. But we played Tampa Bay really hard last year, and I think we're coming a little harder and a little stronger, and we're a little hungrier. But if we do lose, which, to me, it's a 50-50 toss-up. We've got a difficult schedule at the beginning, but we're going to come on strong. So we'll have a streak going somewhere in the middle of the season, 4, 5, 6 wins, and then we'll have some eyeballs seeing. Now, many fans will say, "Oh, it's not real," but I'm here to tell you it's real, and we're gonna be nipping at the heels. I don't know if we're at the top 2, but we're gonna be close.
Is that a prophecy by a preacher?
It's a prophetic word.
A prophetic word, and you'll be proven to be a false prophet, and we'll take you out and stone you like they did in the Old Testament.
That was such a prophetic word that I think he has glitched himself. Let's see if he comes back. He's stuck. Oh, there he is. He's back. Dad, you paused on that prophetic word.
Oh, hey, I'm here. I'm standing on my. That's it. 12 wins.
That was the Lord.
They don't get 12
Name and claim
wins.
it, baby.
Hey, if they don't win 12 wins, I'm buying everybody McDonald's cheeseburgers. I'm just telling you right there.
They're definitely winning more.
That's how settled I am on my pick.
They're definitely gonna win more than the Titans. I can guarantee you that.
I don't know. Titans, they're kind of like the Cowboys. They're real close.
Okay, Stephen A. Adam Denny, give us your non-objective take on the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, first, I'm shocked that neither of you picked them as a contender. I think the first time since I've known you, you've done that. But I just want to make a public announcement to everybody.
Oh, gosh.
Because it is.
You're a Cowboy fan now.
Because it is August. Since our last episode, it is now officially International Cowboy Delusion Month. Every single year, the Cowboys get all the press and all the people making predictions are saying the Cowboys, they're going to be great. The bottom line is this: America's team has not appeared in a Super Bowl since 1996.
I was 4.
I think, Baby Joe, you were probably in pull-ups.
I was 4.
The Dallas Cowgirls were in the Super Bowl. So what's my prediction for them? They're going to underachieve and underwhelm, and they're going to choke at the end of the year like they always do. They always do this. I remember last year watching them. I watched every single snap of the San Fran.
He couldn't help it. He had to watch them.
I was just like overcome with joy and laughter at the end of that game. And the same thing's going to happen this year. They're again in the weakest division in football. And because they've added an extra game, I can't say they're going to go 8-8 because like they always used to.
What?
So are you predicting right here? You prophesied that the Cowboys will not make the playoffs? Oh, there's that pause.
He's hesitating.
There's that pause.
He's hesitating.
I had to think about how poor that division is for a moment.
What are you saying? We're going to go 9-8?
So here's my prediction. Because they can't go 8-8 anymore, they're going to go 8-8-1.
Oh, come on.
So Adam,
Oh,
playoffs or no?
Gosh.
If they make the playoffs, it'll be because
No. Playoffs or no playoffs?
no playoffs.
Oh, come on.
You heard it here first, folks.
Jalen Hurts is
wow.
going to take over, and they're going to be missing.
Jalen. Oh, my goodness.
Wow. Straight.
Okay, let me get the schedule out and give you some Skip Bayless objectivity. Okay, we're going to – the first 2 weeks, we play the Bucks and the Bengals. We're going to win one of those two games, okay? Tampa Bay is all over the place. They're injured. Mike Evans is out. Cincinnati's going to come and have a down-to-earth year. We're going to beat the Giants, the Redskins. We'll lose to the Rams. We'll beat the Eagles. We'll beat Detroit, Chicago. We'll probably lose to Green Bay. We might lose to Minnesota. We're going to beat the Giants, the Colts, Houston. We're going to beat Jacksonville. We'll split one with the Eagles. We're definitely, and I say this because there's going to be a very anointed preacher at this game, definitely going to beat the Tennessee Titans. Dad, will you be in attendance for that game?
Oh, already got the tickets. I'm there.
Got tickets. And then we're going to finish out the season with a win. So we play the last 5 weeks. We play Washington, Tennessee, Jacksonville, and Houston. So we're going to come out on a high note. Dad, if you remember, about week 4 last year, Adam was the one that said, you guys are going to the Super Bowl. Y'all look like you're going to the Super Bowl. So even this Cowboy delusion
that was after we beat Carolina, too.
Yeah.
Just want to throw that in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Adam, are the Panthers going to make the playoffs? Well, I know we'll talk this probably in next episode, but what do you think? Are they going to make the playoffs with Baker Mayfield?
No. By the time the playoffs start, the Panthers probably won't have a head coach.
Oh, no love for Matt Rule. Okay, I'm saying 11-6. But maybe they'll surprise me and go 12-5. I'm going to say Dak is going to have his career year. Now, I'm a little worried because our offensive line's injured. We lost our third receiver. He got hurt, the one from Pittsburgh, and then Gallup's not going to be back for 2 weeks. But it's okay. We got our tight ends. Zeke's going to have a little rebound year as we send him out of Dallas. I'm saying 11-6, 12-5. He's saying 8-1. So when we come back here at the end of the year, we're going to talk about this again.
Just real quick. Odell Beckham. I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying. Odell Beckham.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
All right. Maybe so. I'd be okay taking Odell. All right, let's get to our preacher picks. Now, we cannot wait till football season actually gets here, and then we're going to put our records on the line. We're going to keep receipts. But before we get there, we just got to keep it a little bit neutral. Let's talk college football for our preacher picks. Adam, who do you think the 4 teams will be this year that make the college football playoff? Top 4. Who do you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of the same. One of the big problems in college football is a lack of parity. And Bama's going to be there. And I'm going to go ahead and, I don't know if we're supposed to do this yet, but I'm going to go ahead and say Bama's going to win it again this year.
Oh, wow.
I think with Bryce Young coming back year 2, Saban's probably steaming over the way they lost last year. And it just seems like if they don't win one year, they're going to win the next year over the last 10 years. So I'm not going to pick against them. So they'll be there. I think I did look at Georgia's schedule like you were mentioning last episode. And boy, you're right. It is extremely soft.
Cupcakes.
I know they lost. I don't know what they lost as far as percentage, but it feels like with the draft, they lost 80% of their starters. But because of their schedule, I'm going to pick them to come back once again. And then more of the same with, I think Ohio State's going to be back. I think they're going to be a little more motivated after losing to Michigan last year. So they're going to be there running the Big Ten. And then here's my surprise. And I don't really like to say this because I don't like any team west of the Mississippi in large part outside of one that maybe we'll mention later. But I think USC could be the first Pac-12 team to reach the college football playoff, albeit as soon as they're about to leave the conference. And I looked at their schedule and it is Charmin soft, The only tough team on their schedule is Notre Dame, which is the very last game of the season.
Oh, wow.
So I think Lincoln Riley's brought a lot of energy there. They had a lot of transfers come in. They got a good, solid quarterback in a very, very weak conference. So I could see them sneaking in. I disregarded a few others like a Clemson. There's too much unknown with them. And, even in the Big 12, just a lot of moving parts with new coaches at OU, and then with Texas, still being so new to everything. Too much for me to bet on them.
Dad, what says you? 4 teams, college football playoff. What do you think?
I hate to say it, but my 4 teams are exactly Adam's 4 teams. And really, all you have to do is, not only are they hallmark names in college football, but they've got quarterbacks. And so, and I believe, 3 of the 4, and maybe 4 of the quarterbacks will be Heisman contestants. That they will contend for the Heisman. And the one that may not, Bennett, we saw that he can win the big one.
Yep. And
so I think it's going to be those 4. And again, I'm with Adam. USC, they got a easy schedule. I don't think Notre Dame's going to be hard. At that time, they're going to be running on all cylinders. And that quarterback, Caleb Williamson, he is no joke. And I think they all got a lot to prove. New quarterback, new coach. And so watch out for USC. Of course, Georgia and Alabama. And Georgia, they know how to beat Alabama now. They've tasted it. They were close for so many years. They've done it. And so they could go on a winning streak. So if I had to put some money on it, I'm going Georgia.
Georgia will go on a winning streak because, like Adam said, they don't have to play LSU or Texas A&M. The toughest team they play is Auburn. So they're going to be there. But here's the thing. Last week, this stumped them in the SEC championship because they didn't have any competition. And then they got to Alabama, and they got beat like a drum. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't know that quarterback can go all the way 2 years in a row. But I think the real question this year is Clemson. Dabo's got a lot of pressure on him. If Dabo has another down year, Clemson's really going to start feeling some heat. So the question is, can his quarterback mature to what they thought? I agree. Ohio State's schedule, they play Notre Dame week 1, and then the rest of the schedule is pretty light. I don't see Michigan coming back, but it'll be real interesting to see if USC, how quick they can rebound. Anyway.
I was schedule thinking about them because I want to put them, but I do not believe in their quarterback. I don't think Dabo believes in him very much either. And then they lost Venables, their defensive coordinator. I think he'd been there for 13 years with Dabo.
Yep.
And they lost their offensive coordinator. So they've just got a lot of changes and a lot of uncertainties, even with a fairly soft schedule that they get with in the ACC. I just don't feel confident about them.
But Adam, I will say this. I'm excited to see, it's only going to be year 1, but I want to see what Oklahoma's defense looks like with him at the helm. Because, they've always been able to put up some points. So if they can just get a defense that's, halfway decent, I think they can make a mark as well.
Yeah, and in Texas, one of these years, Sark's going to have that team popping. I know, Adam, you're a half of a Texas fan when Carolina's not playing. So really excited as college gets here. The next episode, I think it'll be the week before college. So we're going to start making some picks, and we're going to keep some receipts as the college football season gets underway. Well, guys, that's going to wrap up this segment. Now we're going to be moving to our ministry segment with our good friend, Pastor Paul Laso. All right, guys, we are jumping into our ministry and leadership segment, and man, we are so excited to have our first guest of the show. And let me just say, this person is going to be a frequent guest, a dear and near friend to each of us, Pastor Paul Laso. A little love for Paul, gentlemen. Yes. Now, I don't know about...
Thanks for the hand clap, Adam. I appreciate that.
Adam, Paul was in your wedding too, right? Because he officiated mine.
Yeah, Paul was my best man, and Joe officiated it, and you didn't come.
Sorry, dude. I was broken. You got married in North Carolina, so my apologies for that. But anyway, just a little backstory. Each of us know each other from our time at Tennessee Temple University, and so that's where a lot of us cut our teeth and built relationships that last forever. And so, Paul, tell us a little bit about yourself. But to start the show, there's two questions I want to ask. One being that we are the Sunday morning quarterback. What are your sports biases? And then 2, tell us a little bit about your family and about your church and where you're currently planted.
Yeah, so I can't say where I'm from and not talk about the team that I have an affiliation for. It's all about the U. So I was born and raised in Miami, Florida. And so I will admit I casually follow the University of Miami. So just in case, you guys start to chew me out and say, Paul watches he watches sports clips instead of actual sports games, which whatever, that's fine. Y'all can have that. But needless to say, I'm really excited this year. Because I think the crystal ball is going to actually do something. And I would hope so, because with an $8 million budget, I hope they do something. That is the largest ACC budget in coaching staff, period. So let's hope they do something with that. But I occasionally pull for my wife's team, which is the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Roll Tide.
And they roll Tide. That's for sure. She constantly reminds me, Paul, how does it feel to almost be good? So anyway, but I've got 2 beautiful girls. One just started school today, as a matter of fact. I don't know when this drops, but Monday, August the 8th, she just started 1st grade. Her name's Isabella. And I've got a younger daughter named Aubriella. She's 3. And they're awesome. I love them. They're the loves of my life. And
Hey, Paul,
of course,
Paul,
yeah.
well, why do you keep on looking down at your notes, even when you're talking about your?
Oh man, I'm toying around with this
come on,
Velcro stuff,
come on.
man. I ain't
You
looking
should
at.
be
I
able
ain't
to
got no
remember your
notes.
kids, your wife.
Hey,
Adam,
I
what
can't
the
believe that.
fuck?
I can't believe that.
Wife.
Paul didn't pour salt on Adam's wound, being that the Yankees are rolling and then the Braves are struggling. You Yankees fan, right?
No,
What'd you say?
I said he probably doesn't know.
Yeah, I know. Trust me, I know, bro.
Hey Paul.
Yeah.
Who is the reigning
Oh,
Don't
you
do
gotta
it to him. Come
World
on.
Series champions today? Who's the reigning World Series champions? Say it.
Dodgers?
Oh,
Can't even do
Wait,
that.
wait. Did Atlanta finally do something? Is that what
Finally.
it is? Oh, Atlanta won.
Listen to this.
Oh,
Paul's been
okay,
giving me
okay.
grief since I've known him about Atlanta choking.
Because it was choke for a long time. Don't even play. That's the actual truth. Not
All right,
chop, choke.
oh,
Listen,
man.
all the
Choke.
viewers, listen. This man is from Miami, but he cheers for the Yankees. But he's lived in Braves country for 15 years and will not even give us any due respect.
He
when
ain't
the
going to
time-
cheer for the
Hey,
Marlins
listen.
because they stink.
No, they do. Listen, look, cards on the table. Okay, look, the Marlins. I'm done with because I just can't anymore with them. I genuinely can't. And to Adam's point, I even told my wife yesterday. I said, you know what, baby, it's time. I'm a Braves fan.
Oh,
Hey.
look at-
Oh, wow.
I'm a Braves fan.
It just
fan.
took him
See
a
that,
win in
Adam?
the
As
World
soon as they win-
Series.
as soon as
I
they win the
even-
World Series, Adam, he jumps on that bandwagon.
Of course, bro. Hey, roll Canes.
Yeah,
Listen.
he's a Bama fan and a Braves fan all of a sudden.
You know what's going to happen? He's going to be a Cowboy fan at the end of this year.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
Yeah, hey,
that's not gonna
he's
happen.
friends with Jason Garrett.
Oh,
gosh.
used to. Actually, yeah, there's a long story
Yeah.
about that. But
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah. All right, Paul, before you rudely got interrupted, we didn't get
Yeah,
to hear about
very
your
much so.
church. Tell us where you're planted.
Sure. Yeah. So I currently serve at Brainerd Baptist Church. Have been here for almost 10 years. And this August will be 4 years. We're going to be celebrating 4 years at Brainerd, North Georgia since we launched, which has been great. And it's been really neat. It's a sweet story to see how God worked together, 2 church families that had an opportunity to be able to now become what is Brainerd, North Georgia. So it was a sweet church that was there that rather than seeing an outpost of the kingdom be shut down, they said, hey, we're willing to follow the Lord's will and merge with Brainerd Baptist so that outpost can continue to perpetuate the gospel and actually have the doors opened for church, which is really cool. So anyway, yeah, I serve as, it's weird. I have a dual role that kind of operates. My title doesn't actually make any sense. But I'm the preaching pastor for Brainerd Baptist Church, and then I'm also the North Georgia campus pastor. One role basically helps me serve our other campuses so that I can help oversee them and make sure that they're perpetuating the mission, vision, and strategy of our church. And so that's kind of some of the administrative things that I do in my position. And then I'm a live preacher at North Georgia, and I'm faithfully shepherding that congregation in its context. So that's a little bit about what I do at Brainerd and how long I've been.
And just as a just as an onlooker, me and Paul are only about 10 minutes apart. It's been cool seeing the Lord bless you guys, and y'all just have real organic growth and discipleship. And for those of you who don't know Paul, he is a gifted expositor, and so I'll just throw that out there. I was hating
Dr.
on
Denny's better than I am. So.
y'all are pretty close. Y'all are pretty close. Very similar too. But anyway, gentlemen, we are going to jump into a ministry topic. And with Paul being here, Paul is, we're all very close to each other. And like I said, we wanted to just kind of take y'all in behind the curtain of what we text about, what we think about, and a lot of times off camera, what we talk about. And so we're going to talk a little bit about something that's real close to our heart, and that's pastoral ministry. So Paul, to start our first question off, and you being our guest, I'm going to start with you. And here's the first question that we're going to talk about today. What is the greatest challenge and reward of pastoral ministry?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. And that's a loaded one, to say the least. And for the sake of not making a generalized statement, because I think that there are a lot of challenges that come across pastors, and mine may be a bigger challenge right now for a pastor that's down the street that may not be his challenge. And so, we can go down the list and list a lot of different great challenges that come for pastors, whether it's time, whether it's emotional drain, whether it's toxic members that are just, causing issues and different troubles within the church, to just finding balance between your ministry and your family. There are a lot of challenges that you could kind of list out. So for the sake of not making a generalized statement of this is the greatest challenge, at least for right now, for me personally in ministry and at Brainerd, sometimes the greatest challenge for us is leading from the second chair. But thinking about that, that's presuming that there is somebody in the first chair. Well, Brainerd right now doesn't have anybody in the first chair. So I think right now for us, it's been a challenging season to be able to lead with someone that's not in that main chair. And, all of us are stretched in many ways right now, pulling double duty and doing a lot of different things. And so I think for me right now, the single greatest challenge is not having my mind divided with so many different responsibilities that we're trying to make sure to maintain, so that I can focus on what I do love to do, which is to shepherd the people at North Georgia. But yeah, man, I think that's right now, personally for me, the single greatest challenge is leading from the position of knowing that there is an empty main chair in the senior pastor position.
Well, let's pause there for a minute. We'll do challenges first, and then we'll do rewards. Adam, any thoughts on that, or any insight on what some challenges you face are?
Yeah, I agree with everything Paul said. If I had to just underline one key word, that I think all pastors deal with, maybe at different seasons, and maybe depending on where you are, it could be more than at others, is apathy. And, apathy in the life of the church, the congregation. And then you would say, well, how do you even measure something like that? I think, the pastor or anyone that's in leadership of any kind, or just is very, very entrenched and involved at their church, they have a good kind of 30,000 foot view of their church, who people are, how people kind of function and maneuver around. And just, how do you measure apathy? So many ways: lack of volunteer, lack of support behind new initiatives, a lack of attendance, in various ways. And here's the thing that I think makes that very challenging for pastors is not all pastors, this might surprise some of the listeners, are like high energy, visionaries with all these brand new, brilliant ideas. But every now and then they may have some new, ministry or strategy they want to use. And when they don't receive any type of feedback or buy-in to it, over time, that can wear down a pastor. And I think what a lot of pastors deal with is in dealing with or being burdened by the apathy of those that they love and shepherd, is fighting that within themselves, fighting that kind of impulse to just kind of put your feet up and preach for another week and you're just a pastor, as opposed to, being all in, and being extremely optimistic all of the time. I think it's kind of an inward battle, but you also are constantly seeing it in your own people and just relying on the Lord's grace to sustain you, push you forward. And then, of course, as you lead your people to do the same.
Mm.
That would probably be, if I had to just say one, I would say apathy.
That's good. Dad, what are your thoughts?
Well, I want to take this in a more personal approach. The other guys kind of went into the church role of ministry. I want to take it personally for me. And it really goes back to the Mary Martha approach to ministry for me. I am more by nature Martha. I am go, do, think, go help others, go serve others. That's who I naturally am. And so I have to make sure I'm not more Martha than Mary, because ultimately I don't want to just serve God with all that I am and miss intimate moments that he wants to have with me. And so I think pastors can fall into that trap of too much Martha and not enough Mary. And I also believe that Christians in general can have too much Martha, where we're just doing life, we're working, we're serving husbands, and husbands serving their wives, and they're serving their kids, and they're doing things for their kids. And we push Jesus back because we know he's a God of grace and mercy, forgiveness, and we just push him back. And then we just kind of go and give him the leftovers of our time. And so that's something that I've always struggled with, is to have personal devotion, not just prepping for sermons or prepping for small groups or prepping for Wednesday night, but to have true devotion where it's not about everybody else, but it's just about me and the Lord and what he's wanting to share with me, and what is he wanting to teach me, and some things that he is exposing in my life. And so that's always been a challenge. I've always worked hard to not make ministry an idol, where I will see myself in good standing with the Lord because of ministry that I'm doing and serving him. And that's all well and good, but I want to always make sure and fight hard. And it is a challenge for me to give God some intimate time with me, where he can speak to me, and we can grow in our relationship. So that's something that I always struggle with. Always good intentions in life. We have good intentions, but that's something that I have to push back and battle and guard those intimate moments that God wants to have with me.
Well, that's kind of the negative, not negative side, but just truthful and honest side. Let's shift gears to the positive side. So, Paul, I'm going to throw it back to you. What would you say is the greatest reward? And when I say that, like, what is it that you love about pastoral ministry? What is the greatest, one of the greatest rewards of being a pastor?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think all of us would agree that aside from seeing somebody come to a saving knowledge of Jesus Christ, which is one of the sweetest rewards that you can be able to witness, someone, giving their life to Christ that way, that's awesome. One of the biggest rewards that I've enjoyed seeing with our people is just watching them become more like Christ and seeing what that looks like within the body life, which has been really encouraging. So, you think of 2 Peter, Peter, there's at just the very beginning of the chapter, right? First 4 verses and even into verse 12. He's just writing with purpose, saying, I want you to remember and intentionally remember the grace of God that was given to you in order for you to have these kinds of characteristics or these traits. 7 of them that are listed, one of them being chief, which is love, right? And what I've really enjoyed to see in our people is how much they have loved each other in times that have been very difficult in these last couple of years. I can remember a life group, and that's what we call ours. You guys may call them small groups, or, Sunday school classrooms, all that kind of the same thing. And one of the sweetest things that I got a chance to see was when one of those families was hurting because they had a death that took place. It was unexpected. And to see the number of people rally behind that family and get an opportunity to be able to just extend to them in thoughtfulness through either financial means or through simple cards, or even just bringing meals to those families, to just showing how they can shoulder the burden with them rather than just leaving them in isolation and not thinking of them, was a really encouraging thing to see, where it was unprompted. I didn't go around and say, hey, maybe this might be a good idea that you do for this family. I mean, this was Christ in them, working through them and saying, our people matter enough to us, and we're going to hurt with them, and we're going to love them through this time right now. And so, man, if anything, it's that growth, just watching them grow through that is some of the sweetest things and rewards that I've seen from our people as of recent.
That's awesome. Adam, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, and on a similar note, when he talks about growing to be more like Christ, I would say that, the primary way that happens is that they're growing based upon what they have learned to be true about Jesus from his word. And a lot of that, comes down to what you're preaching. And to be able to just, there's no way to measure it, but you'd have to be a pastor preacher to understand. There are times when you'll deal with topics in a text that for some people, it may be new to them. It may be something they've never heard before, or a subject matter that's a little bit controversial, but you explain it well. You lift out the meaning of whatever that text you're preaching is, and you lead your people. And then to see over time how those gears were turning when you were preaching, and you could see it on their face, but then there's a meeting that maybe gets tense or awkward because of some relationship between, this man or this woman. And a lot of times these are older members in their 60s. And just to see that they've grown in their understanding of the truth, and then they're living that out in the moment in any number of given settings. That's always something that, I wish I could read minds to know when that happens every single time. But, having people come up, after, you preached something a month ago and you forgot about it, it's gone. But then they come up to you and say, hey, you remember, when you preached that text and you made that point of application, I needed that right then and there. And God used that to change my life. That those are always the best moments for me, when the word is working in the life of the people.
That's good. Dad, thoughts?
I'm going to answer that with one word: transformation. That is a treasure, I believe, for the church, is to see transformation, not just for one who did not know Jesus as Savior and now knows him personally as Savior and Lord, but also to see the transformation that happens when a individual gets saved or there's sanctification going on. So you see a transformation of growth, you see a transformation of marriage, you see a transformation of family, and you even see a transformation of the church. And so we know Romans 12, 1 and 2 talks about transformation by the renewing of your mind. And so what I love the most and what's so encouraging is to watch individuals that have been in church and really are mature, but the renewing of their mind is a continual state. And so to see transformation, even in the mature, as they continue to grow and know God more, to know God better, and see that relationship just become stronger, where they are re-engaged again and want to be a part of good things that are happening with the church. To me, there's nothing better than that. To see God continue to transform those that are young, those that are mature. And when you have a church that has both of those things going on, young Christians maturing and growing into maturity, and then mature Christians having that renewed spirit to just engage and finish well. There's nothing better than to see those two come together, and then to see a church being transformed into the likeness of what God would have his church look like. To me, there's no greater reward than that.
Just kind of on a different note, and it goes the same line of thought, but I love when you have a young leader or a person who doesn't view themselves as a leader, and you equip them and you pour into them, and then they take that opportunity. Maybe it's teaching a Sunday school class or leading a ministry team or leading worship for the first time, and man, they just blossom right before your eyes. And it's a culmination of discipleship and investing and leadership development. And, As you get into the nuts and bolts of churches and structures and systems, those things are important, but they are to allow people to lead and to grow. And so, just as a person who has hands in that, I love that. I love when I can sit back and I don't have to do the talking. I don't have to, and somebody just leads. And man, you just see it. That gifted leadership, their leadership lid raises, and God is just working through them. And then you just sit there and cheer them on. That's one of my favorite things in ministry. Well, let's wrap up that topic and then move on to our next. So we've been trying to open up with a question about pastoral ministry or church, and then we've been trying to give some questions just about Christian living. And so the next question is going to be a topic that you've all thought of and maybe discussed a little bit, but we want to go a little bit more in depth with it. So, Paul, I'm going to pass this next question to you, and here's the question for us in this segment. Do lukewarm Christians exist? And then to go a step further, why do some people struggle to fully commit to Christ?
And you're just coming out with all these loaded questions, bro. Do lukewarm Christians exist? I mean, you read through Revelation, and clearly Jesus spoke of a church that was lukewarm. So, I mean, I don't think that's a thing that's not present in the Bible or something that doesn't happen to believers. If we're caught, I guess we kind of almost have to not to, be semantic about everything, but if the question is, can there be lukewarm Christians? Yeah, I think there can be. Is there such a thing as a perpetual lukewarm or carnal Christian? Well, that's a whole nother topic of discussion, right?
Take us there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, and here's the thing. I think in some ways we almost have to start with ourselves and then move on to even some of the people that are in the pews that may be struggling with this, because they are in fact desiring to grow in Christ, and some of it may be a discipleship issue, and the fact that, hey, nobody's ever really walked alongside of them and showed them how to be able to grow as a believer. And so there's a side of this that's incumbent upon us as pastors to say, hey, your growth matters and your investment matters, and we need to make sure to rally together the church to be able to invest in other people. So that's one side of it. But on the other side of it, I think for what I mean by us starting with us too is I think there's confusion with some of that growth in a believer based on the clarity of how we declare the gospel, right? And so for in many ways, I guess in Southern Baptist culture, or maybe around here in the South for us, one of the things that I think has often left believers stagnant or lukewarm is because in their minds, they thought that the point of the gospel was to get heaven rather than understanding that the point of the gospel is to get God. Mm-hmm. And so when you change what the goal is, well, then if all the gospel is fire insurance for you to be able to eject yourself out of this earth and just go home, well, then there is no sense in you understanding the reason why God left you on this planet, which was to be changed for his honor and for his glory, right? Like he's in the process of leaving you here to perpetuate his name and to grow more like Christ. And so when you have the goal of being heaven, then, well, if everything's safe and secure, then why grow? Why invest your time in the Bible? Why get to know more? Why value the importance of being in proximity with other people and being in community with other people and allowing to see the good benefit of the church within your life? None of that is. But when God is in fact the goal of the gospel and that you gain him, and that's the point of it, well, then everything changes, because then he is your source of satisfaction. He is your source of meaning. He is your source of identity. He is your purpose. He's everything to you. And so I think first and foremost, we need to make sure that we take some ownership on it and say, are we clearly proclaiming a gospel that says that the point of it is him, it's God, because you never had him in the first place. And then if people are buying into the fact of saying, okay, what I'm committing to is not fire insurance, but to Christ, well, then there you can begin to say, well, if you are going to, then as Dietrich Bonhoeffer once said, right, when Christ calls a man, he calls him and bids him to die. So that means all of you dies, and you are giving all of your life to him. And so therefore, that's the starting point where God says, I'm going to begin to change you and to mold you and to begin to make you more into my son. And so I think we need to start there to actually open up that conversation to say, on the one hand, if you are in a place where you're like, man, I feel stagnant, I don't think that I've really kind of enjoyed and savored my Savior the way that I'm supposed to, then that may be one question to ask is, well, what did you think the point of the gospel was, right? And then secondly is, get an opportunity to be able to help people grow and not just leave them out there to wander in the pews, wondering what's the next step in their discipleship, but rather come alongside them and actually equip them to be able to grow in their faith. And so I don't know. Like I said, that's one side of it. A carnal Christian, a perpetual carnal Christian, that's about as hard to find as the Loch Ness Monster and even the abominable snowman, in my opinion. I don't think you can find that in the Bible. Somebody who continues to perpetually sin and never feel any guilt or shame for it. There's something to be said about having a bit of a check in your heart to see whether or not your life was truly given to Christ.
That's good. Adam?
That's one man's opinion.
That's good. You want to follow him, Adam?
Yeah, and he's right. There's no such thing as a carnal Christian. There's such thing as false Christians, false converts. But I do think there is definitely such thing as a lukewarm Christian. And, men, let's be honest, there are probably seasons in our lives, have been and maybe will be, to where we're lukewarm in the faith. And when I saw the question, what popped in my mind was the old Puritan classic, The Pilgrim's Progress. I encourage anybody listening to this to grab one of the modern English versions of that, get one of the kids' versions with your kids, read that. Basically, that story chronicles a man, it's an allegory, who's walking through a land and he's on a journey, which really marks so much of what the Christian life is. And even if you go back to the Old Testament, there's a sense in which all of God's people are marked by being on some kind of journey. We would think of it as a journey of faith, but if you think about Abram, think about Israel, just on and on, it's a journey. Now, through that time of journey in the book, The Pilgrim's Progress, there are times where the main character, his name is Christian, is pulled away for some reason. He's tempted because someone whispers sweet nothings in his ears. The world becomes appealing to him. He gets discouraged. He gets to where he's in such sorrow he can't, continue on in his journey. And I think this is what we would refer to as progressive sanctification. There are seasons in the Christian life that are high, mountaintop moments. And then there are valleys, but even in those valleys, God is very real to us. Even in the pain and suffering, we may feel closer to God then than when we ever do. But there's a lot of that in between. And I think, much like that story, there are so many things pulling for our attention, vying for what's most important in our hearts, that it can be easy, maybe for us Western Christians more than anyone, any Christian in history, to get a sense of what it means to have our hearts just pulled in so many directions. And over time, when you're not aware of it, it's this kind of slow, trend towards being lukewarm in the faith.
Dad, what are your thoughts on this topic?
I agree with both the guys. Paul started off with the understanding of what salvation is all about. It's not going to heaven. John 14:6 says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to heaven except by me. No, it's not what it says. It says, no man comes to the Father. And we like to quote that verse, and we just assume it always says heaven, but it's Father. It's a relationship. And, it's having a relationship over religion. And so, when you're talking about particularly lukewarm, we know that's Revelation chapter 3. We've all looked at it. We've all studying on it. And, I don't know, according to the text, if you can truly be a lukewarm Christian. Because, you look at that text and you look at Laodicea, they had some major issues, and it was about having stuff, it was about having everything that they've ever wanted. And they didn't need God. They only wanted God just to make themselves feel like, everything's okay with my life. And when I need you, God, I will pull you out. But, Laodicea, they had everything they wanted. Very, very wealthy. And so I think that church, Jesus was speaking specifically to them, because it also talks about, you can't serve two masters. You can't serve manna and you can't serve God. And so when you look at those things specifically with that, Revelation chapter 3 and Laodicea, the last of the seven churches, I think they had a major, major problem. And for Jesus to say, look, I'm going to spew you out of my mouth, that's big. Now, with that being said, can you be a growing weak Christian? Yeah, because it talks about milk and meat. And so I think there's Christians that never move past. And unfortunately for them, they never get to experience the goodness and the greatness of God. They never get to experience coming alongside of him and diving into the treasures of what Jesus has for us, or even a treasure of serving. You're never going to serve others when you're always worried about yourself. And so, yeah, I think that you can be a weak Christian. I think that you can stay on milk and never get to the meat, but you miss out on the greatness and the goodness of God when you never dive in to the beautiful treasures that God has for us and for the church.
Yeah, one thing I think we're all in kind of a Southern culture, just working with young adults here at our church and Gen Z and down, I think they really struggle with spiritual surrender. This lifestyle of they want God, but they want to keep their whether it be sinful or to what degree, and they really struggle 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And Adam, earlier you talked about apathy. A lot of them have never been pushed to answer the tough questions, pushed to go deeper, pushed to think why, pushed for more. And so if you have a young child out there or a teen or a young adult, that's something, really try and challenge them. And just that surrender and really going all in. A lot of times people go 85%, but they never fully commit. And I think when they do that, that's when sin creeps in, and then doubt as well. And so that's something.
Yeah, I think that's a present danger in American culture, particularly as you said in the South, because the American experiment is basically a hodgepodge of beliefs. And we use that word syncretism, where it's all these different belief systems, and we don't realize how influenced we are by so many of those things. I'm not advocating like a theocracy where it's Christian religion or nothing, but I think you're right, Joseph, to say that, that idea of full surrender to the American mind that is hyper individualized. We promote independence in its proper place, but if you're not careful, you can take that to mean, I am my own independence and I'm going to tweak things my way. And like that old country song, me and Jesus, we got our own thing going. We got it all worked out. Mm-hmm. Well, no, you need to surrender. You need to lay down your life.
Mm-hmm. And that comes back to what we were saying earlier, convictional preaching, convictional and relational discipleship. And so with that, we're going to segue to our last segment. Each week we'll have a word on something involving ministry or leadership. The first week, Dad did a word on leadership. Last week, Adam did a word on theology. So to wrap us up today, Paul is going to give us a quick word on discipleship. Paul, what is your word for the day?
Yeah, so I mentioned to Joe earlier, it's the word proximity. When it comes to discipleship. And, if I could just to speak to us as pastors as a constant reminder of the value of what it means to have other people around you, close by you, to see not only how you do ministry, but how you live and walk like Jesus. And so one of the things that I learned from Robbie when he was here as one of our pastors at Brainerd is, I got a chance to be able to see how he developed sermons. I got a chance to be able to see how he discipled other men. I got a chance to be able to see how he was able to talk with other people within the church and how he was able to counsel them, how he was able to troubleshoot questions, solve problems, all the rest of that. And so, for us as pastors, I think it's always good to remind ourselves as the occasion brings itself to bear is to, who can I bring with me to go to the hospital to be able to visit somebody so that they can learn how to be able to minister to other people? Who do I have around me in sermon prep so that I can bounce off ideas from them and they can be able to critique things in my life to see how I'm preaching or not? I think the value of having that kind of a proximity when it comes to discipleship is huge, because you're not only giving an invitation to somebody to say, I want you to enter into this relationship so that you can see how ministry's done, how leadership's done, how preaching is done, right? But you're making an impact in that individual's life. And that's a big deal. That cannot be done if you don't have somebody in proximity with you. Discipleship is something that's relational. Discipleship is something that has to be done intentionally. And if those things are absent, well, there is discipleship that happens behind the pulpit. Don't get it twisted. I know that happens, and that's essential, right? You can shepherd through the pulpit. You can disciple through the pulpit through your exposition, right? And true and good. But there's also something to be said when you carve out the time for others so that they can be able to walk alongside you and see how you lead, how you live, and how you do ministry on a regular basis. So if you're a leader and you're a pastor, take somebody with you, invest in them. Take the time to be able to say, you matter enough for me to invest in your life.
Or if you're a lay volunteer, go to your pastor and tell him you're willing. And I think too, we get to experience a lot of awesome stuff, people coming to Christ or just the body serving, but having somebody with you, seeing that goodness and getting a taste, that whole come and see, that's an awesome thought. Guys, before we wrap up, any thoughts on proximity?
Yeah, I think that's obviously modeled first and foremost by Jesus. He had the larger crowds that he ministered to, but he had that close group of 12 and even that closer group of 3. And I think, that is invaluable when it comes to, mentoring and investing in men that are coming behind you, to see them take hold of what God is calling them to do and then go and do the same, like 2 Timothy 4:2 tells us.
Dad, any final thoughts?
Well, I think it also helps the individual who's doing the mentoring, because that's encouraging. It goes back to transformation again, to be around somebody that is eager to learn, to grow. And so we need those people around us to continue to excite us for the things that are happening around us with other people. And so that goes both ways.
Gentlemen, well, that is going to wrap up our time. Paul, thank you for being our first guest. You will be on many more times. We will be back on Labor Day with our football predictions, and then we'll be coming at you every week after that. Have a great day. Gentlemen, we'll see you in 2 weeks.